In today's video, I present you with my review for the Kero Quest 64 demo. As I stepped into the retro-inspired world of Kero Quest 64, I immediately took notice of just how colorful everything was, how alive it all felt, and just how large, open, and blocky the world around me presented itself, with blurred textures, some minor billboarding effects, and that all-familiar feeling of exploration anxiously beckoning me. But what the heck was I witnessing here? It was, dare I say, old-looking, yet so very welcoming. Some frog was standing in front of me, flapping at the gums in some incoherent psychobabble that sounded like I had heard it before, in some other place and time. I decided to have a look around, get a feel for where I was and why. This all seemed quite familiar to me, like I was stuck in some video game from the past. Whatever dream I was having, it all played out like a 64-bit love letter to the days of my youth. Kero Quest 64 generates a bit of nostalgia, mixed with gameplay that's simply inviting and has one heck of a soundtrack that I must get my hands on. It gently pushes that curiosity button, inviting you to want more of that retro goodness. This isn't another retro-inspired ripoff that doesn't work. It strongly salutes those games that came before it, while being fully capable of standing on its own. I had wondered if this was a prototype or some shelved project that someone found in a dusty box sitting in the corner of some closet, just begging to be opened and finally introduced to the world. Turns out it isn't. In actuality, it's the realization of some folks who have a history with mods for Super Mario 64, if I'm not mistaken. No wonder why it feels good to hop into. See what I did there? I said hop, because there's frogs. It's a play on words. Moving on. Whoever these people are, they nailed it when it comes to that pure Nintendo 64 vibe. And I don't just mean any old N64 game either. I'm talking this game just feels like it could be a hit. This is going to be a fun adventure I'm certain you're going to play until 100% complete, having a blast all the way through. It's just one of those games. It sure does emulate the feeling that certain other games of this era offered. However, it isn't flawless. There are some things that could use a bit of polishing. While a fantastic presentation of gaming from years gone by, there are some changes that could make it so much more. One change I would love to see is being able to adjust the camera distance or point of view. There are some tight spots where objects just get in the way of my direct line of sight, like trees. The camera doesn't always agree with tight spaces. It also doesn't help much when enemies are nearby trying to dive bomb or run into you, and you don't see them right away or at all. Aside from that, the camera is very fluid with its repositioning, and feels very responsive, even if a little too close at times. Kero, being a frog, has limited use of his tongue, seemingly only able to grab onto specific objects to reach certain points of interest and to collect items like coins. You can stick your tongue out at enemies, but all it does is draw them closer to you, which doesn't serve much of a purpose. Of course, you can spin attack them when they get close, but you can also just walk over to them to achieve this. It just doesn't come across as exciting or inventive, but kind of like a forced ability. Maybe this ability will serve a greater purpose with puzzle elements in the future, such as sticking your tongue through bars to reach a switch, or grab an object and then drag it over to a pressure plate to open a door or window. One neat idea would be able to pull off a spin move with your tongue out, grabbing onto coins or other items around you, or even mowing down some tall grass or bushes, revealing hidden objects within, kind of like what Link can do in Ocarina of Time. I thought that, in the least, you could use your tongue to eat enemies in order to gain superpowers, depending on the enemy eaten or eating a certain number of them. I haven't seen any evidence of that being a thing, but we'll have to wait to see if you can do this in the full game. Regarding the animation of when using your tongue, it isn't as smooth or as quick as, let's say, Yoshi. It looks very generic at best. The same could be said for ground pounds. After doing a flip, Kero's arms and legs will appear stiff, almost as if in a T-pose, while he graciously descends to the ground in a non-threatening or forceful manner, looking a little out of place in the process. I think that after the flip, Kero should rocket downward with a balled fist, hitting an object or the ground with a small spark of light, giving the maneuver some sense of power. I feel as though Kero in some ways is missing the S from his cape because of the lack of things that make him unique and separate from the sea of superhero protagonists out there. Just about any main character from any game has something that makes them shine, something that is totally all them. And here we have Kero, a character thrown into a beautiful 64-bit style game, not having much to make him very memorable, save for the adorable noises he will spout off when jumping or attacking, which is very welcoming and something I really love. I just wish there were more than that, like having superpowers as mentioned previously, or perhaps having the ability to fly, or even use a mech, even if for a limited time. Heck, it would be even awesome to have some Metal Gear Solid-esque sneaking in some stages. But maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, as this is only a demo and I have no way of knowing what's ahead. Regarding the heads-up display or HUD, some people won't care, but people like myself may find it a little distracting due to its size. It could just be me, but I appreciate as little on screen as possible, if it can be helped. It would be great if we could adjust it on the fly. You know, frogs eat flies. Yeah, I have no idea where I was going with that. Moving on, regarding the initial jump height, it would be fantastic if we could jump slightly higher. I get that we can jump twice to increase our height in order to make contact with the placement of certain boxes or even pull off a spin move when approaching some ledges to be able to reach them. However, I don't really feel this is very intuitive considering that Kero is a frog. One would think that he just naturally should be able to jump higher in the first place. I mean, being able to do so would certainly make traversing some places a little easier. As for the music, there is no option to lower it in the options menu. Not that I would personally do so, as I really enjoy it, but some people may need to do so at some point for whatever reason. Although not necessary, there isn't a ton of billboarding going on here, something that Nintendo 64 games are well known for. Billboarding is when an object will continually face the camera and was often used due to space constraints. An example of this can be seen in Super Mario 64 with the trees. Of course, this isn't a problem with today's games, so it's more or less used today as a nod to games of the past. Just a thought, it would be nice if we could see more of this here. One final thing. This game is a little bit too much like most N64 games. Why, for the love of Frogger, can I not use the D-pad when navigating menus? Nintendo did it to remind people, hey, play with my new stick, and the world responded, yeah, neat, I get it. How do I disable it in menus? Please, for the love of clean pond water, let me use the D-pad in menus. Anywho, regardless of any possible improvements or changes, I'm still going to get my hands on this game at some point, simply because I believe that even in its current state, it's worth picking up. It really does seem like a fun time to be had, and I'm looking forward to the finished product. Whether you like retro-inspired games from this time period or not, I highly recommend you download the demo from Steam and check it out for yourself. Alright, that's about it for this one. If I've missed something, forgive me. I did my best, Ma. If you like what I'm doing here, I'd appreciate it if you show your support and subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment and pound the ever-loving nonsense out of that like button. Thanks for hanging out with me today, friend. I be out. This is Random Battle signing off, and until next time, stay random and battle on.